Hey everybody, I'm Greg Sowell, and this is Why Am I, a podcast where I talk to interesting people and try and trace a path to where they find themselves today. My guest this go around is Lish Steiling. She's been a chef for 2 decades, worked as a food stylist, has won an Emmy, won her season of Chopped, and she still says one of her proudest moments is when one of our line cooks learned to hold a spoon like a pencil. That blows me away. Someone who has accomplished so much is proudest of her impacts on the people around her. Join me in learning why food is emotional with Lish. Lish Steiling, welcome to the Why Am I podcast.
Why, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's get off and running really quick because I don't want to hear me. I want to hear you.
Please. I'm a sprinter. I can't go long distance.
You're a sprinter. I'm neither of those. So, it's like however fast my office chair can roll me there. I'll meet you in a little bit.
Perfect.
Let's see. So you and I are, where are we meeting? We're in a farmer's market. And sometimes they have like a cheesemonger. He's got like tons of little cheeses and I have to taste them all. And not only do I have to taste them, I have to listen to his story that takes 5 minutes for each piece of cheese, even though it means nothing. I've got to do it. So we're sitting here and we're, eating cheese off tiny little toothpicks and we're having a conversation. I tell you about who I am and what I do, but for some reason, because I am extremely boring. And now it's your turn to reciprocate. So Lish, who are you?
Well, I'm apparently somebody who's eating cheese off tiny toothpicks with you in a farmer's market. Which, by the way, sounds like a dream scenario because I'm a stickler for a good story. So hearing a cheesemonger's spiel is always like a dream for me.
Yeah. Sometimes I just buy the story and then I regret the cheese later.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. But who am I? I'm Lish Steiling. I'm a chef, culinary producer, and a food stylist and recipe writer. I have done a lot in the food service industry in the past 25 years that I've been in it. I'm just a perfectly imperfect individual trying to make it in this world.
Yeah, just like anybody else. Well,
Exactly.
That was a lot of information in a very short period of time. So you started out with chef. That was the first thing you told me you are a chef. So tell me about being a chef.
It actually took me a long time for me to be able to call myself that. I would say it wasn't until maybe like 8 years ago that I actually felt comfortable calling myself that. Because a chef is a title that you earn, right? And I've worked for many great chefs and I have huge admiration for them. So it wasn't until I was opening restaurants with Jada De Laurentiis. We were opening her main one in Las Vegas. And training staff and setting up menu and doing all the tastings and everything to get everything right. And training staff, the line cooks would call me chef. And at first I was like, no, you can just call me Lish. And I was like, no, I've actually come to the point now in my career where I am comfortable with that title, and I feel like it's kind of like a new pair of shoes. Like you have to break it in a little bit, But yeah, that's where I finally felt comfortable where, coming up with the dishes and designing a menu and training people and mentoring people and, being there and seeing and tasting and upholding standards and all of those things. I'm like, those are the things that I respect so much about the chefs that I had worked with in the past and how they manage. Management is such a big part of being a chef. And I've been lucky enough that I've worked with chefs who manage in the best way possible. None of the horror stories that a lot of people hear about, restaurants. And so that was when I was like, okay, I'm in that role now, and that's who I am. So yeah, I lead with chef because I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of it.
As well, you should be. It's something you've earned. I mean, you've been in there a couple of decades, right?
Yeah.
Slugging it out.
I started when I was 15, so now I'm 40.
You and me both.
I know, right?
Dang.
Happy birthday.
Oh.
When's your birthday?
I'm May. I'm a May
Me
birthday.
too.
Are you? I am May 12th.
May 5th.
Oh, you're slightly older and wiser.
Yep, Cinco de Mayo.
More experienced. Oh my God. Yeah, that explains a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Oh my
it does,
right. Party time. Here's
Yeah,
Lish.
exactly.
All right. I can roll. Well, when you were telling me about being a chef and having to earn that moniker, it made me think like, is it also kind of scary to have that moniker, because that means I am the keystone, right? Everybody relies on me, everybody depends on me, everybody looks to me, all the pressure's on me. Is that sort of part of assuming that moniker, and maybe why you're a little bit slow to it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I was ready for that for a while, like being a sous chef and so on and so forth for other restaurant groups, and a chef de cuisine. I had just never been an executive chef or higher, than that. So, even as a sous chef or even as a chef de cuisine, like, everybody working with me would just call me Lish. Like, we were never in that formal of a kitchen. And yeah, I think the responsibility is hard, but like, I kind of love that. That's one of the reasons that you get into restaurants, like you kind of thrive on that energy and the pressure and the rhythm of the kitchen, and I think so that wasn't intimidating to me in the fact of there's going to be more pressure on me. It was more of I want to make sure that I'm living up to that name, because I had such admiration for the people that I have worked for. And I'm not somebody who like came out of culinary school and said, oh, I'm a chef. I'm like, I am a cook. Like, I am slightly more educated than I was before I left, I'm going to take what I got out of this education and move on with it and grow from it and learn from it and plug it into my everyday. But I still have a ways to go to earn that title, So I think that was the main part of it for me, is that having the confidence to step into the shoes to say, I've earned this title, I think the Midwest, the humbleness of a Midwesterner sometimes, like for better or worse, it took me a while to overcome that and say, okay, no, I'm good with it,
Well, just from knowing you for 20 seconds and from the stuff I've seen online of you, it seems like confidence is in abundance in you.
Oh,
like it reads like that. It would never be the problem for you. You seem like the kind of person that's going to jump out of the airplane and figure out how to make your parachute on the way down.
Oh, Jesus. No, I would die. I can't do it.
Well, you talked about like being, I guess being, like in partnership with other chefs and stuff. Is like the mentorship sort of aspect of cooking or being in a kitchen like that, is that really strong? Is that a big part of it? Like I genuinely don't have a lot of insight into what that's like.
So I absolutely adore that part of it. I think that's one of the areas that I enjoy the most, is actually being able to teach people, even as simple as like teaching somebody how to season a dish properly, and standing next to them as they taste it the first time, and then adding salt and then having them taste again, then adding some more olive oil and having them taste again, and like actually training their palate into what is this properly seasoned dish that they're going to be making and executing time and time again, so that that every time it's on the plate, it's going to be right, But seeing the aha moments in young cooks coming up is like, that's everything. I was working with a cook when we first opened up. I always say that you hold a spoon like a pencil, because you have more control of it and you can do different things with it, with plating and so on and so forth. And I kept trying to tell one of our cooks, hold it like a pencil, because she kept saucing it and it just looked awkward as she was trying to sauce it, holding it like this, right? And one day I just stopped saying it to her, and I watched her as she went from holding it like this to holding it like this. And I was like, she got like, it was probably one of the proudest moments. It sounds so silly, but like, I love seeing cooks learn and get excited for something and realizing why something is done a certain way. And like that kind of thing, I love it. So I love teaching. I think that's something that's a huge takeaway with being a chef,
Well, I'm sure, because everybody's seen this, like everybody's had good bosses and bad bosses. So yeah. I'm sure you've seen some that don't necessarily enjoy the part where they teach. I mean, is the assumption there like, you're just going to see me do it and then glean how to perform that task just by watching me? Is that how that kind of works?
Sometimes it's I'm going to show you once, and when you don't get it right the first time that you try it, I'm going to get very upset about it. But that's not how I like to manage. And I was lucky enough that one of the first chefs that I ever worked with very closely, her name was Jan Kelly back in Wisconsin. And it was after I had gone to culinary school. But she was definitely probably the biggest impact on how I cook and how I manage kitchens, because she led by example. She knew what she wanted, but she was collaborative, and we were always on the line together and having a good time. Like, when you're in a kitchen, like, you're not saving lives. It should still be fun. I mean, there's a little bit of pressure, but it's not like, being in the ER or something. Like, we should still be enjoying it, because that's what you're serving to guests, So working with Jan for 5+ years was definitely probably one of the best things that I could have done to like develop myself as who I was in the kitchen.
Really?
Yeah.
So do you feel like you have a responsibility to carry on those things that she taught you?
I mean, definitely yes, just because that's who I am now. It's not just her style of managing, it's how I observed it and appreciated it, and leading by example and taking the time to show people and taste with them and teach people has just been, it's such a great part of the journey that if you don't open yourself up to that, I think that you're taking out half of the fun and half of the value of what we do.
What's it like when, one of your little birds leaves the nest and you go and eat at their restaurant?
It's the best.
Is it it's just like, I've seen environments before where there's a lot of competition, and so people aren't necessarily friendly and open. So like when you leave, you're the enemy now. And I'm just curious, like in the culinary world, is that different?
Well, I think that it all depends on how you leave. I think that's the big part of it.
True enough. Yeah.
But for the most part, when I've gone to places that like I've worked with the cooks before or whatever, like, and you have their food, like I am just so proud of them for going out and trying it on their own. I mean, it takes a leap of faith to do that. So, and you're really pushing yourself as a cook, as a chef to do that, So I'm always delighted and proud and happy to support in any way that I can. And, I've always said to everybody that I've worked with, and if you ever have any questions, if I can ever do anything for you, like reach out, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, DM me on whatever. If I can help you, I will gladly help you, So that is, I think that the hospitality industry is just that, the hospitality industry, and we actually care about each other. We take care of each other. We've all been through the trenches together. So, I'm always happy to see them fly.
That's awesome. So the mentorship, it never ends. Like that door's always open. They can always kind of come back, and that's super cool. And to be giving of your time, like if, somebody asks you for money, you can always get more money, you can always get more this, more that. But the one thing you don't have more of is time. And so to me, like when somebody offers to be that giving with their time, like whenever, that like says more than anything else. I think that speaks louder than anything else ever could, I think.
Absolutely. And as a mentor, if you open yourself up to it, you have a lot to learn from your mentee as well, because some of these cooks or chefs are a younger generation. So they're looking at things differently than maybe I am now. We are at that point, Craig, where we are no longer the spring chickens.
No.
So as much as we don't like to admit it, so sometimes talking to the younger people coming up, I get to learn just as much as I can teach them. So, and I think that that's the great part of a relationship, and a healthy part of a relationship, right? So it's been good seeing people grow and blossom and do all the things they want to do.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's the old adage of one teaches, two learn, right?
Yeah.
So anytime I've ever mentored anybody, whether they were like one of my direct reports or just somebody in the community that's like, hey, I could use some help, and sort of take them under your wing and help them out. I've always learned from those, and not only have I learned from those relationships, but I've developed like this network of people that at any point in time I can tap. If I have a question, I can just like throw it to, I actually like maintain like a Slack group. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. Yeah. It's just like a big chat room, and it's full of them. And I can throw a question out there in almost any subject, and I will have like 8 different viewpoints almost instantaneous. And that is like so invaluable. Early in my career, I was very much, I have to do everything on my own. You know, I'm going to be at the top of this pyramid. And then once you become the person at the top, you find out how lonely it is up there. And not that I was crushing people to get there. I didn't bring people with me at first.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
it does get lonely up there, and I think I think leaving it open, well, I should say this because you reminded me of this with Slack, and it's like at some point you also don't want to take advantage of people. So, I always have somebody saying, oh, like I don't want to take advantage of you, but it's like, no, this is a community. And so you've built yourself a little community on Slack where you can just throw something out there. If somebody has time to answer and can help, they will. Absolutely. And if they don't want to because they're setting boundaries and they're only going to watch Netflix that night, well, then they can set their boundaries and watch their Netflix, but it's a community that everybody can reach out to that's in it, So I think that makes it a little bit more approachable too, not so intimidating.
Yeah. And it's funny, it's kind of like attracts like. So it's a very reciprocal relationship with everybody that's in there. Like I will happily give, with the understanding that you're happy to give back, whatever you have some expertise here or there. So it's building communities, absolutely. I guess.
Yep. Yeah.
And you're doing that a lot. Like I didn't know that. I mean, I would have never known that happened kind of in your, I mean, it makes sense to me, it seems so logical, but I never really, I mean, I feel stupid now saying it out loud, but it does. It makes a lot of sense that you would maintain a group of those people.
Yeah. And I mean, you build the community within a restaurant and then people start to leave. And so your community expands and, it's always a growing, moving organism. So,
do you feel like the people in your kitchen are kind of like your family? Does it become like that close?
500%. I mean, especially when I was in a kitchen full time. I mean, now I freelance and consult on restaurants and do food styling and recipe writing and culinary producing, all of the things, right?
I know. It's hard to see the little people from as high as you are. I get it. Yeah.
Oh, shut up.
Hope you brought your telescope to see him from your ivory tower up there. My goodness.
No. It sounds luxurious. It's not as glamorous as you think. But like when I was in restaurants full time, I would spend more time with the people in the restaurants than I would with my partner, with my family, with friends, and even when you get off the clock, you still sit down for a shift drink or you all go out for a drink afterward. And that's where my girlfriend at the time would come and join us for that. But then, she was in college, so she'd go to class in the morning and I'd sleep in because I'd start my day at noon and work until midnight. And so they were kind of opposite schedules there for a while. So definitely your restaurant family becomes sometimes closer than family and your friends that you had before that. For certain. And
for sure.
Blood runs deep, I mean.
And I think, because I've experienced this too, like when you're in a job that's high pressure, what do they say? It's like there's no atheists in foxholes, but for me, it's like whenever you're in that foxhole, everybody next to you becomes your brother or your sister or whatever it happens to be. Yeah, because in those environments, like I can't question whether you've got my back. You have to know that, because it's just you against the world, and so you develop like really strong bonds, at least with those that do support you in the correct way. And then, the ones that don't just sort of sit over in the corner by themselves.
Right. It's true. And you see that on a line in a kitchen. Some nights grill station just gets beat down, but somebody from fish slides over to help out grill and get the plates out or whatever the case may be. And at the end of the night, everyone's like, oh, thanks for that, for getting me out of that, whatever. And there's all this support and the camaraderie and respect for each other in that exact moment that no one else can understand unless you've been in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it's the ties that bind.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I've noticed, I'm not at the moment, for the first time in like 20 years, I'm not in like a high pressure job. Like and I feel like I'm retired. Like I have never been happier. But I've noticed that I don't react the way normal people do in high pressure situations. Like for some reason, everything slows down for me and I am just absolutely calm. And it's abnormal. I think maybe I'm a serial killer. I just haven't figured it out yet. It's like I don't react to stimuli. I remember one time we were going down the highway and we were going like 70 and somebody came up behind us so fast that they sideswiped us a little bit. And I just calmly put on my blinker and then exited over to the side. Meanwhile, everybody else in the car was losing their minds. And it's just like, oh, this is what we do. It's just,
wow.
I don't know. So I've noticed people in charge of high pressure situations tend to learn to control that. Yeah. Like as the pressure goes up, have you become one of the chosen weirdos as well? Is that part of you now?
I think that's the fun part about being on a line in a busy kitchen is everybody kind of goes into their zone. And there's I used to dance when I was younger and still was taking classes till just before the pandemic. And when I was deciding what to do with my life, I was like, do I try to be a ballet dancer or do I cook? And I was like, oh, one I have to starve myself and probably won't be very good at. And the other one I can actually eat what I want, So I went into cooking, but I actually realized that there is a rhythm on the line and that everybody on that line is dancing. Because if one person is out of step, somebody actually gets hurt. There's a burn, there's a splash, a knife falls, whatever the case may be, right? So everybody is dancing together. And when you hit that sweet spot, that rhythm, even with the ticker going and everything coming in, it's just everybody kind of falls in place, and dances together. I think I love that about a line, is just like letting yourself go. You can only control what you can control, so there's no reason to like panic about it.
That's so beautiful. Like, yeah. I was gonna say choreographed dance, but I guess it's more like improvisation because there's a little bit of. Yeah.
I mean, when I was cooking with Jan, the woman that I was speaking about earlier, literally we knew where each other were with just a tap. Like there was just a lot of like, oh, like just letting the other person know where you were, because it was just the two of us on the hotline. And we wouldn't even have to say words to each other except for what we were plating, what ticket was up next. It was just a dance. And I love it. It's addictive.
Do you ever get to a rhythm where you feel like you're just a badass?
Of course.
Like I can see that. Like I can feel that.
And that's usually right before it goes down the shitter. When you're on this high, like, yeah, I got this.
Pride before the fall, huh?
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, when you're in that rhythm, you're on the line and everything's going, how would you describe the way that feels? Like what is that feeling? Would you say it's excitement, or would you say like I think I've sort of been where you are, and that feeling to me is like riding a wave. It's just like everything is just hitting just right, and you're just doing like some amazing stuff. Like, how would you describe it?
I think that's actually a very good description of it. I was gonna say it's calming, but it's an intense calm, if that makes sense, because you don't want to take the pressure off, because you still have to get stuff done, but you're just in this zone of knowing exactly what to do and when. You're touching the meat, you're sauteing the vegetables, you're smelling something in the oven, you pull that out, you get your whatever going, and, all those things all of your senses are on high alert, but you're still here. So it's that intense calm that is when you're in the sweet spot.
Yeah, like hyper-focused.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I dig it. So do you find yourself craving situations with chaos in them like that?
No. Actually, I should say sometimes. I do find I used to do Spartan races. Do you know what those
Yeah,
are?
I know what
Like
Spartan
the
races are.
obstacle courses.
Yeah,
So I did 2 of those. And for my 40th birthday, I wanted to go trapezing because I really love swings.
that's awesome.
I love swinging. So I said to my wife, I'm like, it's kind of a big adult swing, right? You just you're holding on from a little pole instead of. So my wife and myself and 3 of our friends went trapezing for my 40th birthday. So I think there's a limit to how chaotic I want things to be or how intense I want things to be, but I can't say that I hate it because I find myself doing it quite a bit.
Well, I heard somebody describe like the way they like chaos. They said sometimes, like if I've got a meeting, I'll wait until I know I'm going to be late. That way I have to rush through traffic and do like, because they like that feeling, like they like the rush of it. Yeah.
No, see, I'm very anal about being on time.
Me too.
Yeah. I can't push the late thing. And my wife is on the slower side. Like she wants to be a couple minutes late. And I'm just, we're going to be late. We're going to be late. She's like, we're going to be 5 minutes early. I said, that's on time.
That's on time. It's right. If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late.
Exactly. So I'm not somebody who pushes the envelope on the timing thing, but yeah. I do like a little adventure every now and then, I guess.
Yeah, that definitely, yeah, I am on board with the on time thing. That drives me bonkers.
Yeah.
It also like, I don't know, I've been in the game long enough where I've done things that are like time sensitive and like you've got a day stacked with meetings, all this stuff. And like, if you don't show up on time, you're basically saying that your time is worth more than mine is, right? That you are more important. And it's like, that's, to me, that's a sign of disrespect, especially if you don't let me know ahead of time. If you can call me or text me or something like that, I'm totally okay with that. But
absolutely. And one of my pet peeves is if somebody is really late for a restaurant reservation, especially if I've made the reservation and my name is on the reservation. And somebody is more than the 15-minute late that you're allowed, you know, I get so, like, I can feel the anxiety inside of me.
Yes, like right in your chest, right?
Yes, like I am about to explode because I have been on the other side in the restaurant saying, well, if you're not here in 15 minutes, we can use that table. We can give it up. But then somebody's like, well, why'd they give up the table? It's like, because we're not, you know, those situations, they irk me so much.
Yeah. I
try to contain it, but, you know. Go on.
Yeah, you're getting a little worked up right now. I can see it. Exactly. Getting a little flushed. You're getting a little upset.
The color of my skin shows.
My goodness.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you trapeze at 40. That's killer. My body is way too old for that. But you said you were a dancer even up to like you said when I was younger, up to the pandemic. That wasn't that long ago, Lish. I think time hasn't compressed as much as you think.
Yeah. Well, serious dancing. Like I was seriously dancing until I was 18 and then went to culinary school. Then after culinary school, I went back to it for a couple of years. Like just to kind of, to me, dancing is very grounding and you have to be in the moment, right? Once you put your hand on the bar and the piano starts, you're just like, here I am, you know, and you're thinking only about what your feet are doing, what your arm is doing, what the presentation is. You're feeling all of the feels in the studio. You have to be there. So the stress of the day goes out the window, even though what's happening to your body is not normal. Ballet is telling your body everything that it shouldn't do. That's maybe the part of it that I enjoy, the pressure, the intensity of it. But there's something about a ballet class that's it for me. So when we moved to New York, I was nervous to take dance classes because it's New York. I mean, only professionals take dance classes here, right? And it took a couple of years before I had the balls to go to Steps on Broadway, and I took an open level class, and just it reminded me of every reason that I loved it. So I started taking open level adult classes whenever I could. And then the pandemic hit, and I'm like, I can't dance in a mask. I just can't do it. I have trouble breathing enough as it is without the mask. Like, why am I going to do that? So yeah.
Well, once they drop the mask mandate, are you going to go back?
Maybe I might. We'll have to see.
Once you get the nerve up, grab the courage again, and then get back in there.
Yep. Follow me on Instagram. See if the ballet shoes pop up.
I do follow you.
See? Oh, good.
Yeah, I follow all of your socials. They're super cool.
Thank you.
Absolutely. That's interesting. So how did you find ballet?
I was put in it at a young age. My sister danced, and I always liked watching her dance. And then she quit pretty quick, and I just fell in love with it. I tried to take classes at the studio that she was taking, and I did not stick. I did not like the instructor. I was not happy. It was like a sit down and cry situation,
Oh, serious?
Yeah. And then my parents were like, oh, well, we can take you to this other studio and see how it is. And I just hit the ground running. I was hooked.
So what was Little Lish like? Oh, that's a tongue twister. What was that like being a kid? Like, tell me about your
parents. Did you just
parents
see me, Little Lish?
Well, you're not like Big Lish now. I mean, you look pretty compact. I'm just gonna say it.
Little Lish. Well, what part of Little Lish do you want to hear about?
Oh my gosh, this is going off the tracks.
Sides of Little Lish.
My goodness. Just tell me, like, how were your parents pretty supportive of all of this stuff? Like, I am assuming, like, with dance, I mean, that's an artistic endeavor, and so you worry. It's like, oh my God, and my kids going to be able to eat? Are they going to be able to feed themselves?
They drove me to all the recitals, all the classes. They were in it to win it, which I love them for, because there were quite a few classes that I'd be taking. I mean, I think overall I was a pretty good, happy kid. I do remember a couple of times in like second grade pouting in the hallway and crying over like a family photo because I wanted my parents to come pick me up from school. I was so miserable. I didn't get the teacher I wanted, and I was just so upset. This actually you can probably see, and my mother loves to remind me of the story. I went into the principal's office in second grade, mind you. So what is that, like 6 or 7 years old?
Yeah, somewhere in the neighborhood.
And I demanded that he call the president of the United States so that the president changed the law that I would have to go to school, because I no longer wanted to go to school. So the principal had to call my mother and say, Mrs. Steiling, your daughter is demanding for us to call the president because she no longer wants to go to school. So there was a little of that side, but that's any kid, right? We all have those moments.
So you're basically saying you were only been unsuccessful at one thing in your life, and that was getting out of school. Everything else you've been a rock star at.
I wouldn't say a rock star and everything else, but I did suck at getting out of school.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So you had really supportive parents. How about the cooking thing? You said, one, I could starve myself, or one, I could eat, but obviously you must have had some kind of leanings that direction, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I started in restaurants when I was 15 years old as a busser, and quickly realized that I wanted to be a cook. And at the time, 15 was too young. You had to be 16 to use all of the equipment that was in the station that I wanted to work. But they brought me on anyway. So I got to work as a pizza cook at the age of 15 in the middle of the dining room, making wood-fired pizzas and roast chicken and orange roughy and all the things in the wood fire. It was amazing. It was so much fun. But it kind of started when I fell in love with Martha Stewart at probably the age of maybe 11 or 12. I had every single one of the Martha Stewart living magazines from probably issue 3 on.
Really?
And I think they're still in my parents' basement. I think they've actually saved them for me. And I would watch Martha Stewart Living every Saturday morning. If I had a sick day at home from school, and this goes back to when I was probably 8 or 9 years old, my grandmother was the one who would be home with me because both my parents worked. And so we would watch Yan Can Cook, and we would watch Julia Child, and we would watch Frugal Gourmet, and the guy that I can never remember his name, he was from New Orleans, and he would always go, little onion, little wine, and he wore suspenders. can never remember his name.
Yeah,
but
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, but those were the shows that I grew up watching. And so by the time I was 13, I was cooking full-on Thanksgiving meals for my family. And the Martha Stewart recipe, like the cheesecloth and wine and butter, and you let it bake, like roast like that for a while, and all the sides and all the fixings and the pies, everything. Yeah, so I mean, I had it stuck in me since I was definitely a young age. I would sit up on the counter with my grandma when she was whipping cream, and she'd let me lick the beaters. Yeah. And if I was misbehaving and, you know, needed something to do with my hands, she would give me a little piece of dough or something to knead and play with. And so, yeah, it's kind of what kept me occupied.
That's
something
cool
to do with your hands, you know?
That your parents would trust you to make Thanksgiving dinner, because that's I mean, that's a pretty big deal. The fact that you had proven yourself. Had you proven yourself enough to be able to do it, or were they just, you know, like, yeah, let's see what happens?
They're like, sure, try it. You know, I mean, I would cook random little things, quesadillas and stuff like that. Yeah. You know, grilled cheese. Those little situations. I don't think I had really done any kind of big meal up until that point. Like, I tried to make fettuccine Alfredo out of the Walt Disney World cookbook. You know, I'd follow recipes.
Yeah.
Little did I know that later in life I'd be creating recipes.
Yeah. That's cool.
So yeah, it was fun. And I mean, God bless my dad that he'd get up at 6:30 in the morning with me on Thanksgiving Day to, you know, put the turkey because I was 13 years old and couldn't do all that stuff by myself, you know? So yeah, it was fun.
And you still cook for your family on the holidays like that?
I'm often not home for holidays. Normally it's our created family for holidays. But if we do go home, yeah, I'll definitely cook, no matter when it is. If it's in summer, because August in Wisconsin is beautiful, and that's when all the produce is great. And I'll always cook for my in-laws. I'll cook for my direct family. I love to do it. So whenever I have the opportunity, definitely throw something together.
So are you by default the designated chef all the time, or do they like ask you, hey, Lish, would you do, or is it just assumed you're going to do these things?
Well, I don't think it's definitely not assumed, but I often offer because one, I like to do it, and I like to also be busy. I have a hard time just sitting still and looking out at a lake or reading a book, or unless it's a cookbook.
Oh yeah, I know, dude. Like your list of accomplishments reads like a career criminal's rap sheet. Like, yeah, you obviously have never sat still for more than 5 or 10 minutes in your life. And I assume that was the 5 or 10 minutes you sleep at night. Must be it. Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, that definitely tracks. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. You stay busy. That's, so whenever you're cooking for like your family, you said it's something you want to do. Is it, like, what is it that makes you want to do that? Like for me, like when I do things for others, I truly derive pleasure from taking care of the people that I care about. Especially like I don't know why, but I love taking people to restaurants they've never been. Like if I've been there and it's good, and I love to see them experience that thing that I like. Like I love to do that. Especially with my wife. I love discovering new stuff, you know, with my partner. It just makes it so much sweeter, more fulfilling. I just more enjoyable all the way around. So is that kind of what you get out of making? Because it's like I could never create like the way those things taste. I could never personally do that. Like that's not within me to do that. But you have the capability of making these amazing flavors, experiences, and bringing them to people, which I had never thought about like that. That is like almost like a superpower to me. You know?
Yeah, it's my way of showing people that I care and taking care of people, for sure. I mean, I've always said you can change somebody's day just by feeding them a good meal. If somebody's in a crappy mood and all of a sudden you feed them something that either they've never had before, or it reminds them of a childhood thing, or there's something that happens. Food is emotional, so to share that with people is something special to me, and I like to share that and take care of people. And I'm not the most patient person when it comes to I don't know what to say, like consoling, I guess maybe. Like I don't even know how to word it. Just food is my way of showing people that I care.
It's
You
like
know?
food's your love language.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for.
You know what's funny is I had never thought about like this food is emotional. So like I know I like to perform. I'm not an actor, but I perform in various parts of my life. And
Yeah.
I like the ability for me to think a thing and convey it in such a way that it produces an emotion in somebody. And I never thought about you're doing the exact same thing with your meals. You
Yeah.
are literally invoking an emotion via the tangible output of your creativity, your art. That is so baller. That's crazy that like that's the part about me performing that I truly love. And that's one of the pieces that means the most to you. That's so cool. Like
Yeah.
I had never made that parallel.
Yeah. And what's actually pretty funny is that so my wife and I started a brand called the Taste Curators where we merge food, fashion, and design, right? And that's one of the parallels that we often talk about is how when you get dressed in the morning and you put on an outfit that makes you feel good, it's
Mm.
emotional,
Mm.
and it's the same thing with food. When you put something in your body that makes you feel good, that's an emotional experience. There's this emotional connection between fashion and food that so often get overlooked. You don't see the parallels because the industries are often so opposite. They're so polarizing. So we're trying to shed a light on those little parallels, even as simple as them both being emotional and evoking a feeling when you taste or put something on.
Yeah, I've always heard you eat with your eyes first.
Yep.
And I know that's true because sometimes my wife won't even taste something if it looks slightly amiss, if
Yep.
it's not exactly the way she. And what's funny is even if it looks bad, if it tastes delicious, it'll still taste bad to her. Like,
Right.
yeah,
Because it
which is
doesn't
crazy.
look appealing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Although I often think that a lot of the ugliest food out there is sometimes some of the best.
oh, dude, we were wedding photographers for almost a decade, and the ugliest cakes taste the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the prettier they look, the worse they taste. So
Yeah.
a pretty
Yeah.
universal scale.
Yeah.
Tell you.
See?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It tracks.
Yeah.
But yeah, that marrying of, so I did like, digging around and the Taste Curators, I saw that. I wasn't 100%. Well, I mean, I was, because you guys clearly outlined kind of what your mission statement is on there and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I found your Instagram and I kind of fell in love with that, the Taste Curators Instagram, because you're pairing food and fashion, you finding these, but being a photographer for so long, like my brain loves symmetry, and it loves seeing two like things put together, in unexpected ways. And so I love how you pair those things together. Like, I don't know, man. It's like ASMR for my brain, just seeing those pictures. Like, I spent way too much time scrolling and just like clicking and thinking about it. And then, the next one. Yeah,
Yes.
I like that one. And
but
then,
it's so good, right? And
it's so
kind of
good.
opens your eyes to being like, oh my God, that reminded me of this. And like no other connection, but suddenly you see the similarities.
Yeah, and I like the idea of being able to take one could take inspiration from the other and vice versa.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yay. Then we did our thing.
I'm sure mission accomplished. Hang the banner on the aircraft carrier. We got a 40-year-old bald guy to look at art and food, or rather fashion and food. But yeah, oh my goodness. Yeah, you definitely mission accomplished. But it's so funny, like, I don't know how creative people can find inspiration in things unexpected to me. Like, I always love that. So the idea that like you could, I'm assuming, look at an outfit or because we're talking about fashion. You could see something in fashion and maybe come up with like that would inspire a meal for you. That's
absolutely
cool and fascinating all at the same time.
Yeah, I actually did a project with a choir group during the pandemic. And I had done a project with them previously as well that was similar to this. But it was called Taste. And basically the choir director sent me all of the music, recordings of the music, and I listened to it, and I decided what the music tasted like, or tried to decipher what the music tasted like, at least to me. It might not be to everybody, right? But I then took that and wrote recipes for each piece that they were performing. And there were 4 different sections to the entire situation. And the goal was is that if you signed in to, be a participant in this experience, they would send you the recording of the music that the choir recorded, which were all recorded separately, and then built on top of each other. But you also got this recipe, and you cook the recipe beforehand, and then you sit down and listen to the music as you eat the meal. And the idea being that you're listening to what you're tasting, and that it's a full body immersive experience, and you're engaging multiple senses that wouldn't normally be engaged for just like listening to music. And we got a lot of good feedback from it, because it is something that people don't often think about, that there might be this crossover as, can our taste buds actually experience what we hear, and can we, see what we might taste, and all those kinds of things, the crossovers of senses and experiences.
Oh my gosh, you're breaking my brain right now. Like the idea,
it was so much fun.
Like I'm just imagining like sitting down to a meal, and as they bring you a different course, they change the tracks.
Yes.
And you're just, all right, and then transition to the next track, and here's the next plate. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
We want to do it in person once everything kind of settles down and things open up again. So hopefully we'll actually be able to pull it off. But
yeah, that sounds
I think
so
it'll be so
cool.
much fun. Yeah.
And what you described also made me think of, I believe it's called synesthesia, where you get people, sometimes the wiring in their brain, their senses kind of get crossed. And so one thing will go into another. And there's like, I think somebody on Twitter with synesthesia, you like tweet them your name, and they'll tell you what your name tastes like. Yeah.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. Or, people will hear music, and the music has different colors.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they can quite literally see the music, you know, without, hallucinogens.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting, because we, at the Taste Curators, we talk about palette versus palette, because there's a color palette that's spelled one way, and then there's a flavor palette, right?
Ugh.
But
I approve of the pun just for the guys of this conversation.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
But there are so many similarities and crossovers with palette versus palette. Because you taste things, and it might cause an emotion, it might stir up a memory, it might do something. It's the same thing with a color palette. Like all of these things that into play, and how they cross over and merge.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
It's fun. We're running with that. That's palette versus palette.
Oh my God, you live such a charmed life.
You want to pay my rent?
You live in New York, right? I'm pretty sure I do not.
Yeah, exactly.
No, thank you. Maybe you could eBay that Emmy that just so happens to be sitting in the background. Just over your this whole thing.
Oh, this one? Who? That?
So let's segue into, you've been in food for decades, but it's not just cooking. You sort of reinvented yourself maybe a little bit here. Sure. And so I'm curious, like, how do you go from sweating your butt off in a kitchen to, I know you've been on Chopped, and you have had 3 Emmy nominations for your work in TV, and then also that lovely Emmy over your shoulder.
Over my shoulder.
So just, I'm not going to sit here and read all this stuff. We could talk about it, but I'm just curious, like, how does one go about making the transition? I'm sure it was an interesting little series of events.
Yeah, very carefully. It's actually a fun story. But, so when I was in culinary school, I had no idea that food styling was a thing, that culinary producing was a thing. I literally imagined myself being in restaurants for the rest of my life and not having any problem with that. And I still miss restaurants to this day. That's where my last job was ideal, because I did a little bit of all of it, But when I moved to New York, so I was a sous chef for a large restaurant group out here. And I had an unfortunate experience with an executive chef. I was his sous chef. And so I decided it had gotten bad enough that I was like, I need to step out of this or I'm going to lose my love of food. Like that's, it was starting to just eat me from the inside out, basically. So I had found out that the senior vice president of production for Food Network actually had lunches at our restaurants quite frequently. I was working in Chelsea. So I took his name and number out of the reservation book and literally blind called him. And his assistant said, "Oh, I'm sorry, he's not available right now. He's normally better to contact via email." It's like, great. Don't suppose you'd mind giving me his email? She was like, "Sure, of course." So I got his email and I emailed him and he actually responded to me. And he passed me on to somebody who passed me on to somebody who actually brought me in for an interview at Food Network. And that's where I started freelancing, food styling, recipe testing, conducting tests for their contests that they would always hold. Then I spoke to the person who had hired me there and I was like, I need more. Like, I want to learn more and do more in this industry. So she passed me on to friends of hers who worked at Gourmet Magazine and the Today Show, and did a couple of, spots off on the side with cookbooks, freelanced for a couple of cooking shows, doing food styling and like behind the scenes associate producing, and then got a full-time gig at the Today Show from that. And that's where, I say with the Today Show, it was like going on a stage every day, except the chefs came to me and I got paid for it. So it was the best learning experience, because all of the best chefs would come on the show and cook right alongside you, and you got to ask them questions and learn their flavor palettes and different ingredients, new ingredients. And it was just amazing. So, and that is where Giada De Laurentiis, who is a Food Network chef and a chef owner or chef of a couple of restaurants now as well. She used to be a contributor, or she might still be a contributor at the time. So she was on once a month. And we got to kind of know each other. And we had a drink one night and she was like, I'm looking for somebody to kind of oversee my culinary team. And I'm looking to open up my first restaurant. And so I want somebody with restaurant experience. And I was like, oh, great. And she said, but they have to be in LA. So I was like, I'll think about it. And if I think of anyone, I'll let you know. And then the next time she came out, she was like, okay, they can be in New York or LA. And I was like, oh, okay. So let's talk, and that's how it all happened. So 7+ years later, I was with her for that amount of time, and then just stepped away to start the Taste Creators and try to do my own thing and really make a go of it with my wife and I in this brand. So we'll see what happens. Slow and steady.
That's cool. So you're saying it all started with some light stalking.
Seriously, light stalking before Instagram.
That's awesome. Well, you were saying that, sometimes perseverance is how you get in the door. And it sounds like that's what you did.
Yeah.
And already, they say any good lawyer doesn't ask a question they don't already know the answer to. And I feel like I know the answer to this one. But I'm not a lawyer, by the way. But it's, why do you...
Should I be concerned?
Oh, there's a summons. I've been trying to serve you for the last hour and a half. You just haven't stopped talking. No, like people were passing you on, right? You were like having these conversations with folks and, I want more. And they were willing to pass you on. Why do you think that was? Why you over all the other people that they were talking with and working with?
God knows. I always say that I was very fortunate to meet the right people who I've had a lot of mentors in my life who have taken a chance on me and passing me on to people and getting to know me and how I work and the care that I like to think that I put into what I do. So as much as I always say that I was very lucky to have all of the opportunities that I have kind of stumbled upon, I am often reminded that ultimately I was the person who blind called. And, I was the person who asked for more work, and I did the work along the way. And I often kind of overlook that. I'm like, oh, so many great people, and I did. That's like, to me the biggest thing that I really appreciated about moving to New York, is that everybody was like, oh, it's so intimidating. But when I asked, people were willing to do things, you know, and they're willing to help you out, and they're willing to mentor you, and they're willing to get you more work, or at least try to, you know. New York is a pretty cool city if you get to know it and if you open yourself up to it. People are very friendly and in it together, because I feel like it's kind of like being in a restaurant. It's a shared experience. New York City is a shared experience. So, and we're all going through it together, you know? So I think if you're willing to put your head down and do the work, you can really go far. And I was also reminded recently, when I was parting ways full-time from Jada, I still freelance with her, but she reminded me, don't be afraid to ask. So along the way, it's like, you know, that actually made me feel better for asking for help along the way, you know, because that is how you get farther. You know, if you don't ask for it, you're never going to get it. So you kind of have to put it out there, you know, and sometimes it takes balls of steel to do that. But in the long run, it's worth it, I like to think, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I have so many notes on all the things you just said.
Oh, no. Deep thoughts with Lish
I'm about to
Steiling.
grade you on what you actually answered. No, that is terrific. Like, I think a lot of that is true. What, you know, like, I think sometimes it's right time, right place, right? The fact that person was at your restaurant, that's right time, right place, right?
Yep,
but then you took the information and you put in the work. I think you mentioned putting in the work, because you just got to show up, right?
Yep.
Because if you don't show up, you're not even going to attempt to finish the race. Yeah, right. You got to get in there. Yeah. I also know that in my life, I've had multiple people that like under me, like whether I was mentoring them or they were my employees or whatever, my directs. And maybe two different people would ask me, hey, I'm interested in this position. One was eager. They put in the work. They were passionate about what they do. And the other person was not. They were meeting the bare minimum, right? And so it's who do you put your time and energy into? It's the person that you think you're going to get the most out of. And talking to you, I have never met anybody so passionate about food, like instantly. like you are just like so on fire for it. And it's your charisma, you're charismatic, and the fact that you're asking, you're saying, hey, I want to do this, and you have all those other qualities, to me, that's a no-brainer. It's like, yes, I will promote this person. And also, I think you said it earlier, it's like if I say, not in the exact same way, but you were talking about like if you get a reservation for a restaurant, somebody doesn't show up, that's kind of representative of you. And to me, if I'm going to refer somebody, this person is a representation of me, right? Like if I'm going to put them forward. And so to me, it's like you just ticked all those boxes. And so why wouldn't they recommend you? You know what I mean? Like,
oh, thank you.
It's an easy answer. Like that
just
so, it's so immediately obvious. Oh yeah. It's perfectly obvious. Yeah. I could see where you're at on that. You're wearing in your face. You're talking about New York. To shared experience, I got to go to New York, I think 2019, just before the Panty D hit, you know, like in the summer.
Oh, nice.
I loved the city.
Yeah.
It was, I would put my headphones in and I would walk through it, and it was like, I don't know, it felt like a symphony, all the people just moving in concert together, and then they're just the ebbs and flows of everything. I don't know, maybe we're like schools of fish, but there was just something so beautiful about it. It felt like the city itself was alive, like a living thing. It's sort of weird and hard for me to describe, but I loved it. I loved it from the second I was there.
I mean, talk about a rhythm, right? The city has a rhythm, and some people love it and embrace it and can dive right into it. It sounds like you did. And some people it's just not right for. And I think that you know rather quickly. Some people, it's just another nice place to visit. You know, I always go back to, and we're both too young for this song, but I'm an old soul, so I listen to Rosemary Clooney, and she has that song called "Do You Miss New York," where she's talking about like all the horrible things of New York, the rat race, the chatter, the blah blah blah, And if you had to like do it all again, do you think that you could still hack it? And at the end, she says, but do you miss New York? And she's like, me too.
Yeah.
So to me, it's not just another nice place to visit. It's home. You know, if you fit into that and you get it and you feel the energy that's there and you're able to kind of work with it instead of fight it, it's a great place. And you just have to be a little open to seeing what it reveals to you.
Well, you know, too, it felt like endless exploration. Like I could never see everything. I could never taste everything. And every single face was a new potential. You know, it's like, what kind of story could that person tell me? And it just like,
I want to hug you right now, Greg.
Oh, like, I know. We're like, I think we are like very kindred spirits, Lish. But yeah, just the endless opportunity. Because where I'm at, there's not much opportunity, let alone endless opportunity. But it also seems like maybe New York would attract those kind of folks. I mean, obviously not across the board, but you know, like you say, like attracts like. And I think kind of that idea of melting pot, and just I was surrounded by so many different faces, so many different humans from different walks of life, and I just wanted to talk to every single one of them. And I've heard people say, oh, New Yorkers are so rude. I saw it as these people were busy, they had places to go, and talking to me wasn't in their agenda of things that I totally understand. I totally get that. You know, like I'm so accustomed that every time, you know, down here we go anywhere, you just say hello, how you doing, howdy, people respond. You know, whereas there, you know, most people had like their earbuds in and they were doing their thing. And what's funny is I embraced that. I did the same thing. Yeah. And I just became another fish in the school. And just I loved it. I loved it. It was such an amazing experience.
Exactly. But what's also funny about it is that where we are, so we're in Brooklyn. We moved here, I think 7 years ago, maybe. We were on the Upper East Side for 9 years. And here, I know the names of my butchers. I know the names of my fish guys. They know that I like to smell the fish before I buy it. I know the names of the grocery guys. You know, it's such a close network of community and, you know, people at the same time. And everybody's different. There's all different kinds of walks of life. And it truly is a melting pot. But it is fascinating how here on the sidewalk, we know our neighbors. We say hi. We're in a small building. We know we're friendly with our landlady and her family, and they're the best landladies that we've ever had, you know, like before we would never even meet our landlord. So it's just, it's a fascinating, rotating, I don't know, culture that happens in the city, you know, and it is just kind of what you fall into and what you make home.
I just like now imagining you walk into your fishmonger. One guy leans over the other. This is the lady that likes to smell the fish. Just go with it.
That's seriously one time they're like, do you not trust us yet? We can totally trust you, but I don't want to lose the habit. And they're like, okay, we get it.
They got a Polaroid picture of you up, like, do not allow lady to smell fish. Okay, yeah.
Actually, when I was on the Upper East Side, I had a fishmonger tell me, I can't have you smell it. And I was like, why not? He goes, because what happens if you don't like how it smells? I can't put it back. Everybody sees that you don't like how it smells. And I'm like, well, then you shouldn't be selling it if I don't like how it smells. Last time I bought fish from them. Like, no.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, all right.
He's back there spraying that new fish smell on it. Yes. Yeah. Smell this one. It's fine. Yeah. It's great. Oh my gosh.
Love it.
That's freaky. All right, let's transition yet again. I have met, and you know, obviously I did a little bit of digging on you. I do this thing where I dig a little bit, but not too much because I still want to be surprised. I still want you to tell my story. Right. But you have done some stuff with tattoos and food, and I've noticed this. I'm sure anybody who's ever been around, you know, kitchen folks have, that there seems to be this direct relationship with cooks, kitchen, and some of my favorite waiters I've ever had with like tattoos. And it's just curious how one seems to follow the other. Is that a prerequisite? Is that like rites of passage? Like they didn't let you into the culinary school until you had a little bit of ink, or like why do you think it is that both, I guess it's, I don't know. I'm sitting here answering for you. Like, it's the creativity of the people, right? With how they're inventive with their flavors, and they want to show that unique nature and their ink and all that stuff. I don't know. You tell me.
I think that's exactly it. It's the personality. It's a way of showing your personality on your sleeve, pun intended, you know. And I think there is a little bit of an element of that, like we were saying, not necessarily looking for chaos, but that excitement of getting a tattoo and what goes along with it, what it means to have a tattoo that you sat there for 2 hours with, you know, a needle going in and out of your arm or leg or wherever it may be. It's, to me, like, it was just a way of showing my personality on the outside of me, you know, and kind of express my feelings of food on the outside. So, I mean, this one, the pig flying one, I always call it my hopeful tattoo, even though, first of all, I love pigs and I love pork, but it was on a wine menu in Mexico City that my wife found. And she was like, "Oh my God, this is your next tattoo." And I was like, "It is, but it's my hopeful tattoo." So as much as it's food, it reminds me when pigs fly. And it's like, this one's doing it, you know, these birds are helping him out and he's taking off. So that's my hopeful tattoo. And sometimes it's just almost a reminder to myself of who you are and your personality and where you've come from and where you're going.
All right. Well, to paint a picture for the people that are just listening, it's a pig with strings going up to birds, and they're lifting them off the ground, right?
I mean, yeah. How cute, right?
Yeah, it's super adorable. Yeah, I saw that one. I saw 3 of yours online, or maybe 2. Yeah. And that was one, and I was like, that's really cool. I bet it's got an interesting story.
Yeah. And then there's the radish.
Radish,
there you go, if you're watching. That was one of my first food tattoos, I think. Yep. The other ones were non-food up until that point. And then when I won Chopped, I got the matching. So this is a carrot on the other arm. And then I have a large blooming artichoke that goes up my spine. But it's like an overbloomed one. So it's like flowered, you know?
It's gone to seed.
Yes, exactly. And that was actually covering up a bad tattoo that I paid $20 for in college.
So why was the radish your very first food tattoo? Like, what does the radish signify?
Love radishes.
They're small, red, spicy, with everything.
Just like me. No.
I know, dude.
Yeah, I love I love the diversity of radishes because you mentioned spicy, right? But when you butter braise them or roast them, they become sweet. So it's like this double personality. You know, I think that they're very... they're an interesting vegetable, but just radishes with butter, I love that as a go-to snack. So that was the main reason that kind of led me to it. But now when you think about a radish, you're going to be saying, oh, there's so many different ways, so many different personalities to pull out of that vegetable. You're making life
so complicated for me. I just...
Oh no.
Why can't things be simple, Lish?
I apologize in advance.
I've only ever had like radish like shaved over a salad or something like that. I've never
shaved over iceberg.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Love that in a good salad.
My grandma used to eat them like apples though. She would just take a bite. She's pretty hardcore.
I love raw radishes and I like them, just dip them in a little bit of kosher salt, eat them like popcorn. But the problem is that as I've gotten older, I have to limit myself because they bite back sometimes.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, you can only have so many before you're like, something's not right.
Yeah. Couldn't have been that half pound of radishes I just ate. It's got to be something else.
Yeah. Spring is hard for me at the farmer's market. Want to buy all the different colored radishes.
So why the carrot for Chopped?
I actually, honestly, the true story with the carrot, I wish I could come up with something more clever, is that I thought that it would look very nice opposite the radish.
It does.
That it would fill the space well.
It's a lovely pairing. It reminds me of like some vintage art.
See? Yeah. And it's funny, I have this silverware on the back of my arm, speaking of vintage art, that I had literally brought in like a picture of a set of silverware to the tattoo artist. and she sketched it up and put it on. And shortly after getting it, I was waiting on the platform for the subway, and some woman walked up to me. She said, "I'm sorry, but I'm in charge of vintage flatware for Tiffany's, and I could tell you the exact line of whatever flatware that was." And I was like, wow, okay. And she like started talking to me all about it.
Yeah, man.
So cool.
I tell you, everybody's got a weird kink, you know?
Right? Yeah.
The lady in her flatware. That's wild.
I know.
Man, New York is such a cool place.
Right? Meet all walks of life. It's good.
That's wild. That's cool. So I saw that flatware online, but I couldn't tell, was it necessarily you? Because I saw a couple of different versions. I was like, which one is which?
Yeah.
So I thought maybe that was, all right.
Yeah, I'm sure other people have gotten it now too, but it's just the fork and spoon on mine.
Trendsetter.
Yeah, because at the time Abby was like, "I will not let you get a knife tattooed on your body." So I got the fork and spoon.
Why?
Just too like intense, I think, which I don't blame her.
What about like a butter knife? Yeah,
well, that's what it would have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
She was afraid you were going to go back to the gang life.
Yeah, I guess so.
Showing your butter knife tattoo. I get it.
Yeah. No, it was actually cute. Our niece, when she was very young, used to come over and pretend to take the flatware off of the back of my arm and then eat the radish with the fork and the spoon. Eat the radish and then put the flatware back.
That's too cute.
Very cute.
Ugh. Kids are the worst when they're not being the best.
I know, right? Do you have kids?
I have two, yes.
And how old are they?
I've got a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they are big dudes. So my wife is 6 foot. I'm 6'3".
Okay.
My 16-year-old is about 6'5", 280, and my 13-year-old is about 6'1", 180. So they're big. They're big kids. Like literally, they're huge. I remember what it was like to have leftovers. You remember that? Where you'd put things in the fridge? Yeah, it's like
not
nothing.
anymore.
It's like barren in here. It's ridiculous.
I was just gonna say, you've got to cook for like 6.
I mean, because they're growing, and I mean, they are crushing it.
And growing boys eat a lot.
I know, dude. And they eat it at all hours of the day, apparently, because I'll have something like hidden in the fridge. I was like, oh, this is lunch tomorrow. I'm excited about this. And then, it's gone.
By 6 o'clock the next morning, it's gone.
Animals, savages, no respect, right? You write your name on it. You write dad, and they eat it. You write, I licked this, and they eat it. They don't care. It's just gone, bro.
Wow. Do they have any go-tos, or are they they'll eat anything?
Anything, pretty much. I mean, there's weird variances in between there, but if it's in the fridge and they get hungry, it's gone.
Yeah, doesn't matter what it is. You could be like, it's sea urchin on top of oysters on top of foie gras, and they'd be like,
Yeah, let me put it in some toast, and it'll be fine. Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
Animals. Oh my gosh. Lish, well, I have eaten a ton of your time, pun intended. Buzzing.
It's a good dad joke. I love a good dad joke, so I mean that in the best way possible.
I do sometimes. Oh man, I've got an Australian friend, and he almost completely speaks in puns, and it's like at some point it just starts wounding you, Yeah. Just, you just got to catch your breath. Yeah. Parts of me I miss are dead now from him. So yeah, it's rough. But
good times.
Here towards the end, Lish, I want to ask you: is there anything you would like to promote? As in, if you want folks to interact with you online, talking about finding email addresses, yours was surprisingly easy to get. I usually have to do a heck of a lot of digging to find all that information. But how would you have people interact with you out on the internet? Weirdos like myself.
Of course. Well, definitely follow me on social media. So my handle is @Lish Steiling, and our brand label is @the_taste_curators. Definitely the taste curators have some exciting things coming up. We are doing a collaboration with a shrub company where we curated a flavor. My wife made the label, and then I did 3 recipes to go along with it. And that launches April 4th. And then we are working on a series of cookbooks that will merge our 2 industries in a way that will hopefully be kind of tangible for people so that they can understand what we're trying to do and open everybody's eyes to palette versus palette. So those should hopefully be launching.
That's awesome.
Starting to launch in May-ish. So that's the goal. But keep your eyes open for the cookbooks, and definitely the shrub will be happening April 4th. And yeah, hopefully more exciting things down the pipeline. So
that is so cool.
Yeah.
Well, Lish, I can't thank you enough for your time. I truly see it as a gift when people are giving. You didn't even ask questions. You were like, yeah, which also makes me wonder about your judgment.
Yeah.
Because somebody completely out of the blue. I really appreciate your energy and enthusiasm. Like,
well, thank you so much.
Talking to people like you. Yeah, people like you energize me in a way that nothing else does. And sometimes, I completely work from home here in this little cave almost all the time now. And I sometimes feel disconnected from the world. But it's people like you that make me it's like, yeah, this is why I want to go and meet people. This is why I want to do this stuff. Not just so that they can have their humble brag Emmy over their shoulder, but make real human connection. I think that's awesome.
Exactly. Well, it's people like you who give me hope that things are going to be okay. So having these conversations are, they're important. So especially in a time when things can go awry very quickly, these conversations are what count. So absolutely. I appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out.
All right. Well, let me hit stop on all this stuff.
Perfect.